all Canadian families, we are on the Titanic. The iceberg hasn't hit yet, so we're not sinking. If we don't shift course, that iceberg is coming for us.
I'm not planning on leaving. I'm fighting. We want to make this country incredibly great.
We begin to see that it really isn't about diversity. It is about punishing the people who perform beyond the mean.
For people who don't care, where do you see Canada going?
Oh, it's catastrophic. It is that bad.
What is the carbon tax doing to lower carbon emissions?
Exactly.
I love this country. I was born in this country. I believe in what this country stands for. I believe in its people. I believe as a place opportunity for all to come and live, but the path that we're on is not working. And we are not going to be what we're supposed to be if we continue along this path.
Yeah. Citizens, welcome. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you guys.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
This year's been good to us. Look at these gifts we've got.
Our crew gave us a ton of gifts. I got some for you, actually, that you should open. It's Christmas Day, you guys.
This one is for you.
Let's see, what do we got in here?
Can you open it for us?
You got to throw it here. It's feeling rather light.
See how
Chair.
heavy that was?
It's feeling rather light.
Wrap that. Let's see what that thing's got in there.
What do we got in this bad boy?
I thought long and hard about it.
Battery backups, man.
Yeah, let's wait and see.
Oh,
Battery
nice.
backups are solid.
Nice. Doesn't feel like there's anything in this box, Jer. Feels like it's just a box. What's going on here?
Careful, it's a nice knife. We don't need you bleeding on set.
Yeah, alto. Dude, it's an empty box.
Yeah, inflation was hurting this year. I'm sorry. That's the best I could do. All I could do was buy the box and the paper for you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the sentiment and the thought. Hope you guys are having a better Christmas than I am. As you guys are celebrating with family and friends, whatever you're doing today. That was a great way to start the show, dude. Merry Christmas,
if
everybody.
only there was a GST break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I actually got some money back on the carbon tax.
I know, there's so many jokes. You could go all day.
Yeah. Apparently there's money coming back in my pocket every day from the carbon tax.
Yeah, apparently there is. Remember that? Did you see that ad when the carbon tax got deposited? Good morning, today is a good day. Did you see it?
Did you see it? No. Did you get a deposit?
No, I didn't. But it depends on household income. It depends on children. It depends on all sorts of different things. So it depends on every person. Some people do, some people don't.
Okay.
But he goes, today is a good day. Today, and then he goes, you'll get a deposit if you are a part of this group. Da 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 da. And he goes, I'm like, how about we have better days than just this? This is the good day. This where we're using borrowed money that we have to pay back anyway. Like, what a rotten gift. Imagine if I handed a real gift in there and said, hey, you and your children have to pay me back over their lifetimes for that gift. It's like, what? What are we talking about?
Or I've been taking money from you the whole time for a year, and I use that money to give you a less valuable gift than what the money I've taken over time for.
Totally.
You bought your own gift. I'm just pretending to give it to you. That's really what's happening.
Just keep going. Look at our and then before we jump into it, look at our inflation tree. We call it. It's starving for nutrition and water, but it's still doing its job. It's a Christmas tree. The show does go on.
It does go on. It's not bad.
It's kind of good, actually. For those who don't know, it's a lighting stand wrapped in tinsel, which I
it's
love.
a fit Christmas tree.
Fit.
It looks like it's in shape.
Well, Merry Christmas to you guys. Want to say we're so honored that you guys have been following along and joining us. If we actually want to hear about your Christmas and what's going on, if you've bought better gifts than I was able to buy David, maybe what your favorite gift is. It's just awesome. It's crazy that this landed on Christmas Day. So we're just glad to be joining you on Christmas Day.
Yeah, maybe we're in your homes right now with your family. Hope you guys are enjoying Christmas dinner because it's an awesome time to be able to celebrate and reflect. Great day to be thankful.
Totally.
A great day to celebrate. It's important for us to also talk about like the reason for Christmas.
Yeah.
Is we believe Christmas is here, and the reason why we celebrate it because it's celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ, which is our Lord and Savior. And I think that's awesome to be able to. We should not avoid saying that.
No, not at all.
Like by saying Happy Holidays. Not lately, always. Whenever people say Happy Holidays, I'll make them a point to say Merry Christmas to you.
I'm that person that always does that. Always. I write emails to companies when it says Xmas, when it says Happy Holidays. I do. I write it very respectfully.
That's good.
But I think it's important. I think it is the sole reason for this whole season. Like it is it. It irks me. My mom used to be bothered by it, and I used to be like, Mom, cool down. Now that I'm a dad, I'm my mom.
Yeah, it's funny how that works, how you shift that way. I've had several people who said Happy Holidays, and I said Merry Christmas, and they actually reply back with Merry Christmas.
Oh, wow. Very cool.
Probably about 3 or 4 times this year, which is cool. That's because I think people just they don't know if they're going to offend or not or whatever. And it's like, you know what? There's nothing offensive about the reason of Christmas and all that. So, anyways, we're just so happy to celebrate. Great day, time with our families. How's your Christmas?
So far, so good. I think for us, a lot of it starts after Christmas, actually, because we just can't get everybody's schedules to line up. So, going on holidays in a couple of days, which will be very, very nice. Can't wait for that. I feel like I've been kind of counting it down since December 1st.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
How's your guys' Christmas? Hey, let us know in the comments. Appreciate you guys liking and following and sharing the content. Today, we're going to just be a bit more lighthearted and kind of talking about what's going on from this past year. I know we got lots to be thankful for in terms of what's been going on here at our work, but also in Canada. It's interesting to see. Looking forward to the year of 2025. Will be a fun New Year's Day show that we'll end up doing, so tune into that as we Jared and I make some predictions for the year, and we review things that I think went well this past year and maybe things that didn't go well this past year. So hopefully we can learn from those, but tune in. But there's a lot to be thankful for, celebrating with family and friends and all that from this year. And something that, to be honest, and this is going to sound a little goofy, but I'm really thankful that you and I actually started this show. I think it was a long time coming, ever since 2020, really, that we, was it 2020? We were 2021 when we were in Ottawa.
February of 2021.
And we've been just different priorities of what's been going on.
Feels like an eternity ago.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Wow.
That does feel crazy.
That was crazy. Those 2 weeks, sorry to interrupt you, those 2 weeks felt like a year.
Yeah.
Those were some long 2 weeks, man. It was crazy how long that felt.
If you don't know what we're talking about, you can go back and refer to episode 1 of CTZN, because we talked through, Jared and I went down to Ottawa for the convoy for a number of weeks, and we're on the ground in the dead center of what was going on. This is back in January of 2021. And anyways, that's crazy. That was, how many years? That's coming on the 4 years.
Yeah, and we went down there kind of just to report back, to go in there and kind of see firsthand for ourselves. And so to give you guys like a super fast recap on it, we went down there to just firsthand give our accounts. We also work with Bridge City News down at Lethbridge, and we knew this was kind of a monumentous moment for the nation of Canada. We wanted to see it firsthand. Then we started to see what the news was actually reporting. The mainstream media was reporting, and it was shocking to us. And there was a burden that kind of fell on us to make sure that we seemed to be the only truthful ones reporting it. I know there's probably a couple others, but we couldn't seem to find them. And so our following exploded over there, just rapidly. We had people from around the world reaching out to us, and I'm not exaggerating. And so we interviewed Maxime Bernier. He came right into our hotel room. We shot over the Parliament Hill onto Wellington Avenue there. And all sorts of people just were reaching out to us because the level of influence was exploding there, because truth needed to be spoken. And so when we got back, we were driving on the road back, because it was 40-50 hour drive back to Calgary. We were just reflecting, and we felt heavy, being like, if this is what the horizon is in media, then we kind of felt that responsibility to be like, well, then we got to keep doing this. We got to keep talking. We got to keep trying to rise things to the tops, so that we can discuss the truth that's actually there and not being hidden.
Yeah.
And then here we are. So,
well, that has been 4 years ago, and that is what has driven us to continue on with this, with Return to Reason, to make great friends with guys like Leighton Gray with Gray Matter and David Lease with Leaders on the Frontier. And there's several other media outlets, and watching all of the other guys that are independents that are trying to pull and work along the same line that we are. Just a shout out to those guys. There's many of them. A lot of guys we haven't met, a lot of guys we have met. Looking forward to connecting with you guys maybe in the new year, and finding ways to work together. But just shout out to all of them, because they've all done, I think, a really important piece to help take away, I think, all of that power that legacy media held, and it was abused power. And the media really is if you don't know this, the media is an incredibly important part of democracy and an incredibly important part of being able to hear different varieties of opinions. Just even getting people to get to the table to have the conversation. It's feeling like we've lost that.
So long as they do their job, as presented truthfully, and they don't turn into propaganda, because a lot of the times it's being used as propaganda. It always has been, actually. If you go through history, it seems that it's been one of the greatest weapons of warfare is media. And but you're right. If it's done right, it is so pivotal to democracy, to just to what am I trying to say about elections? Just the integrity of elections, the integrity of voting, the integrity of understanding what's best for the country and what each person represents. And the more you can separate the media from the money, the more truthful it'll be. And there's actually a video I want to show you. I saw this and I was like, this is perfect.
That's so funny.
Isn't that good?
That's
Gosh,
good.
I love that so much. And that, for those who don't know, that's a Matrix. When Neo becomes the one, he becomes kind of all powerful at that moment. And so these agents shoot these bullets at him, and then all of a sudden once he has the power, which is what they're saying when you're not succumbing to the propaganda, you just go no, and he stops the bullets and grabs one out of the air and drops it, and the rest of them all fall. And and that's the power of truth. That's the power of understanding what how to see through what the propaganda is trying to do here and there. And not every one of them are propaganda. That word's maybe a little strong, but sometimes it is.
Your point is accurate when you have media, and we have nothing wrong with companies and people making money, just to be clear.
Of course.
But when you have special interest groups that are controlling or threatening you by withholding of revenues or funds or advertising or whatever, and that sways messaging, or you've got guys at the top that benefit from messaging a certain way, or they're ideologically driven, which we all are to a certain extent. That's the thing you want to try to avoid. If you're,
For sure.
But when you have the value of money over the value of truth, that's where legacy media has gotten to. They value money more than they value truth.
Totally.
And that's when it's flip-flopped.
You were the one that, do you remember the movie Thank You for Smoking? You were the one that showed it to me. Years ago. Gosh, I want to say 12 years ago when we first moved to Calgary.
It's awesome, yeah.
Yeah, and you showed me Thank You for Smoking, and essentially it's this movie. I wonder if maybe I can show a trailer, maybe, I don't know. But for those who don't know, it's this movie called Thank You for Smoking, and it kind of essentially goes through the dynamic of the powerhouse companies who were influencing the system, the medical system, the FDA, every one of these drug and food and drug administrations to push smoking, that it was good, it was safe, to make advertisements of pregnant women smoking, to just make it as present as possible, to make it normal. And so it was done that. And then this movie kind of shows the fallout of that and what's ended up happening, and how these administrations were in bed with the medical system, and it was just treacherous to people's health and cancer and lung. And now, just like it's 2024, now everything when you look on the cases, it shows like black, carcinogenic, tar lungs, all sorts of stuff. It's like, but now people are so addicted to it that it continues to just go. And I'm pretty sure the sales are down year over year slightly.
Are they?
But,
well, the movie's it's a comedy. It's a dark comedy because it's a guy who represents the tobacco industry.
Yeah.
So he is constantly spinning what is bad news or bad situations for the good. Like the opening scene is quite hilarious because it's on a talk show, kind of like an Oprah style talk show. And you've got this PR guy for the tobacco industry, and you have Moms Against Tobacco, and then they bring out this boy, and they call it's dark bad humor, but they call him Cancer Boy as he walks out because he smoked from a young kid. As a young kid, and he has cancer and he's bald, and so they play him out on stage, and everyone's shaming the tobacco industry and saying you're causing this kid all this harm. And the way the guy comes back, and he has this brilliant speech, which is master of spin, right? He cares more about the money and the product than the actual result.
For sure.
But he goes, his closing line is, "It is in the tobacco's it is in the tobacco's industry best interest to keep this boy healthy, alive, and smoking.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to spin that we need to get this kid healthy. And so the way that they're trying to spin just kind of shows how messed up it can be when you get driven by the wrong ideologies. I think it's actually the same principles can be very applicable to our life. Is that what is driving us? What are the things that are driving what we do, what we achieve, where we spend our time, how we allocate our priorities? Because if that's messed up in terms of what is our driving factor, we're going to experience a messed up life, and our vision's going to get warped.
Yeah.
Like in how we perceive things, you know?
There's a number of movies that have come out like that about things over the past. Like Thank You for Smoking is one of them. It's a 25 or 30-year-old movie, something like that. And then there's one recently actually with what's his name? The Hulk actor.
Eric Bana? The
No.
original
No,
Hulk
no.
actor? That's
Wow.
like, that's
You're
going back. Man.
You're going real back. No, Mark Rufio.
Okay,
Is that how you pronounce his name?
Mark Ruffalo.
Ruffalo.
Rufio's from Hook, man. Rufio.
Is that also not a drug, Roofie?
It's a drug.
Rufio.
Remember Robin Williams' Hook?
Oh, yes.
Rufio. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's crazy. Wow. That's hilarious. But he's in that movie about the water. Have you seen that one? Or sorry, not about the water, about Teflon pans.
No,
That's a
I
whole
haven't
nother
seen that
one where the industry, again, exact same situation as Thank You for Smoking, where they've influenced the industry and did the propaganda, you can call it, to allow Teflon
because they want to sell and make a buck, and they're not willing. You even look at what RFK is driving right now when it comes to not just the vaccines, but challenging just the medical industry and the food industry. Yeah. Right, with these things that have no long-term studies, that have no testing compared to what's the word I'm looking for? They have no comparable testing to actually see, is there long-term harm that can be caused. There is these. It's unbelievable how far we get driven because of money, and we are willing to compromise health, willing to compromise our country, willing to compromise truth, willing to compromise citizens and their ability, and we're willing to lie about it, or at least mislead about it in order to profit or do what we need to. It's all over. How many things have been overturned in the last 10 years that we thought were awesome for us, like over the last 50, 60 years, and all of a sudden, oh shoot, after 40 years, that actually is going to kill you.
Yep. There's so many of them. And even the food pyramid, and this is what RFK is going to go after immediately, but the food pyramid recommends, and I was trying to find it for you here, and maybe Paul can throw it up on the screen here, but apparently Lucky Charms ranks higher than steak, red meat, which is protein.
Come on, let's pull this up.
Fat, B vitamins,
is this the American one?
Iron. Apparently. So I've heard people say that before. That's why I want to try and find it right now, because if that's the case, what are we talking about? Lucky Charms. So you search that?
Yeah, I just don't know which one is the right one. But the point is, what we're saying is that it is unbelievable how many times things, whether intentional or not, become propaganda.
And it's ridiculous. And that's exactly it, is that when processed foods are making it on lists higher. Maybe this is right or not. I don't know. It looks like it came from a school's recommendation. It was a school of a self-proclaimed nutrition guru that came out with, he was the dean of Tufts School of Nutrition. And apparently they recommended it. Lucky Charms is ranked above whole wheat bread, above canned pineapple, above boiled poached eggs, above whole milk, above almonds. And so I'm looking at this.
Well, the pyramid has an emphasis on eating carbs and avoiding fats.
Yeah,
right.
And it has at the very bottom of the list, ground beef. Very bottom, ground beef. Straight protein, fat, B vitamins, iron. It's ridiculous. Well, the fact that processed food, where it's like the marshmallow of a Lucky Charm, is the most processed thing you could think of probably. And it makes it above whole milk, almonds, and ground beef. Like, what are we talking about? So there's obviously deep levels of influence happening there.
Okay, well, it says here, in the 90s, the food pyramid was everywhere. The food guidance system, which was developed by the USDA, United States Department of Agriculture, as a nutrition education tool for Americans, it was plastered everywhere, from cereal boxes, bagged bread, TV commercials, elementary classrooms. Yeah. Not only that, it was published at a time when Americans had a dramatically different understanding of what constitutes a healthy diet, fueled by a combination of supply chain imbalances, outdated science, and good marketing. Yeah. Back then, cholesterol was the enemy, and saturated fat was too.
which is all that's being flipped on its head. And
Totally.
And I want to say, this probably goes without saying,
Yeah.
but we have to say this is not health advice. This is not, if you're doing some of these things, don't take our advice for it. Search out yourself and get your own advice from your doctor, and et cetera, et cetera. But just ask your doctor questions. Ask your doctor why he believes what he believes.
Well, he might be a dummy too.
Yeah, for sure.
He might be
exactly.
educated by a bad system and just push.
But like even I think back to my grandpa. My grandpa was so against butter, just regular butter, and margarine, everything.
Yeah, margarine was pushed over butter.
It was pushed everywhere all the time.
Fat-free over full fat foods.
And then Splenda too. That was a huge one with aspartame. Then aspartame comes out to find out how bad aspartame is for you, and that it's a forever chemical that never leaves your body, and all sorts of side effects of aspartame, all sorts of stuff like that. Where I'm like, like you said, cholesterol was the enemy, and now they're finding out like. We know this. Cholesterol is absolutely necessary. You need cholesterol. Like even a good friend of ours that we had, that you and I were talking to last week, he was talking about how his cholesterol numbers were out of whack. His blood pressure was through the roof. This was like 10 days we were talking to him, 10 days ago. And doctor just kept putting him on meds that would forcibly put his cholesterol down, and all these meds that would force his blood pressure down. And so it's just essentially the body is reacting a certain way. And then the drug comes and goes, no, don't. Yet we're not fixing the root of the problem, why the body's reacting that way. And so then thus creating a storm within the system of the body. And so what do? He jumps on carnivore, and all of it goes away. And so like I said, this is not a recommendation for you to do that, do your own research, but he goes on carnivore, and he's on carnivore, I think he said for 1 month, and he already didn't need his meds for his cholesterol and his blood pressure. He did consult with his doctor, checked with his doctor, but now he's on no meds whatsoever. He's dropping weight. He's fitter than he's ever been. He's 61 years old.
Yeah.
He's 61 years old, and he's looking fantastic, feeling the best he's ever been, and sleeping the best he's ever said, which is amazing. Like it goes against everything what the doctors used to say with beef, and especially when you look at this list where ground beef is at the very bottom of the list.
Yeah.
And that's all he's eating, beef and eggs.
Well, the point is, and again, is how many things have we just taken for granted that we thought were good because we didn't dive into it or research or didn't maybe know how to. Anyways, that we have a history of that. We constantly abuse that type of thing. So it's interesting to see some of the changes that are going to be happening, I think, in North America as you've got a new administration taking office here next month.
In just about a month, yeah.
Yep. With in the U.S., we're moving into an election year. That'll be interesting to see what happens in Canada. We are in election year. I'm not sure if you guys saw a couple weeks ago, Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister, was in Halifax talking about we are going into an election year, and he says, "I just believe and want you Canadians to be thoughtful." That's how he put it. And I will say, actually, I kind of want to bring up the video because it was a little bit compelling in the sense of, let me just find it here.
He was trashing their choice on Trump at the same time, kind of passive aggressively, right?
That was in the same one.
interview. Yeah,
I just gotta find it here.
There was a number of things said there where he wanted people to be thoughtful in this election, and then he kind of, like I said, took a shot at the U.S. for it.
So what he ends up saying here, I'm gonna restart it.
Thank you for your thoughtfulness. I hope some of the things I said actually, pierce through the haze of challenging situations everyone's in. Canadians are fundamentally thoughtful about the kind of future we want, the kind of solutions we're going to put forward to improve our communities, to improve our neighborhoods, to build a better set of opportunities for our kids. And every election is about that as we approach what will be an election year next year. And my only request for everyone is to be really thoughtful and go into the choices you make with eyes wide open. I think there's a number of folks in different countries, and I won't point out any particular one, where folks are going to be wondering about the choice they may be made in election.
Hold on a second. I'm not going to point out any specific one, but I'm directly talking about the United States. It's the most obvious thing, dude.
I think there's a number of folks in different countries, and I won't point out any particular one, where folks are going to be wondering about the choice they may be made in elections. Let's not be that kind of country in Canada. Let's be deliberate about the choices we make. If we want to stop fighting climate change, if we want to re-legalize assault-style weapons, if we want to put back into question women's rights, if we want to scrap $10 a day childcare across the country and stop delivering free dental care to vulnerable seniors, then in a democracy, that's a choice people can make. Get rid of the CBC too. That's a choice people can make. Let's not fall into an easy trap of voting for change for the worse. Canadians deserve better, and I know.
How about change in our pockets?
Interesting strategy though. Like I've honestly always struggled with Prime Minister Trudeau, whether I couldn't figure out whether he's truly ignorant.
I don't think he is.
Or if he's just so ideologically driven and thinks what he is doing is absolutely the best thing for this country and the world moving forward.
If I had to guess, I think that's the side.
So do I. Like seeing that kind of clip, I feel like he's very sincere. We're going to get to the falsehoods in that clip in a second, but he's very sincere. But it's very smart strategically how he's talking there.
Yeah.
He's coming down on the level of, listen, we're a democracy. You guys are thoughtful. Let's be thoughtful about what he's making people question.
Yep.
Do we want to get rid of, and he's using specific terms, bring back assault style weapons, right? That obviously immediately has a negative connotation.
Word. What is an assault style?
But he's banking on most Canadians to not dive deeper than him just stating that one statement.
Yeah.
Like on surface level, most people are going to be like, no, I don't want assault style weapons. Like that sounds dangerous and scary, right? There's a lot more to it than that one headline.
Well, an assault is something that you do to somebody else. You can't have an assault device. It's anyways, but that's something that's constantly used in the gun world. But
well, then he goes $10 a day child care. Then he says free dental care for, I think he's word disadvantaged seniors. Or then he said, do we want to stop fighting climate change? Like these are all things. The bottom line, though, that he's ignoring and he's hoping a lot of Canadians ignore is the how do we do those things? And you made the funny comment of saying, how about change in our pockets?
Yeah.
I think as people are starting to lift the lid on this, people are realizing how important economics is and how much we actually care about being able to make money and create wealth.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that's one of the most important things as a country.
Yep.
And it's federal government's responsibility is to create an environment that is conducive so that Canadians can create wealth and grow. Guess what? From that position of strength is where we can start looking at initiatives that we actually need to get into.
For sure. And that beautifully brings me into this clip. As soon as I saw this clip, I was like, I want to get your thoughts and opinions on it and wrestle with it because it kind of talks about that. And she brings up a point here that's not fully truthful, like there's some things, some nuances here to talk through, but she brings up a pretty good point. Watch.
This is what I say about Canada. It has the worst of socialism and the worst of capitalism.
Tell us more.
Okay, so Canada has like the parts of socialism, which is like super high taxes and like weird weird monopolies for Canadian businesses.
Yeah.
So like in telecoms and airlines.
Yeah.
But then it has all the worst parts of capitalism where we have like no time off and we have like a horrible work-life balance.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the worst of both. Like we don't really get the perks of like capitalism the US gets where it's like high salaries, lots of innovation, like really good economy. But we also don't get like the perks of socialism that like Netherlands has, which is like really like low homelessness rates, really good like maternity policies, like although I feel like their maternity leave isn't that long, but the help you get from the government to raise children is a lot in Netherlands, and we don't really get that. We have long maternity leave, but you don't really get much for it. I feel like we don't really get the innovation of the US because of these stupid corporate monopolies that and like groceries too.
Kind of interesting, eh? What an interesting thought.
Yeah, she definitely
not fully there, but she has some points where we've gone after the social virtue things that do not actually seem to work all that well. Like we have some of those programs that in theory could be fantastic social programs, but yet we have incredible homelessness. We have brutal drug addiction. We have, it's just wild. And programs like MAID are thriving. Like it's just ridiculous. And then to not have, and then she said the worst parts of capitalism where feels like we work like slaves and then our country's going further in debt, our economy is worse, and then affordability is worse, and we can't buy homes, and it's like we don't have the innovation, as she's saying. She has some key points, not fully truthful.
Yeah.
But I was like,
well,
man,
from her perspective, she looks like she's younger.
Yeah.
She's mid-20s, I'm going to guess, or who knows. But Canada's an interesting mix because we are free enterprise, which is a major attribute of capitalism, is that you can start but we've got such a socialist mentality, and we have so much regulation that that's one of the biggest issues. That's why I love what Elon and Vivek are going to do. Yes. I cannot wait to see, because they're giving themselves 18 months. If you guys don't know what they're doing, there are things called DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. So they're essentially coming in, and I'm not sure if you've seen some of their interviews or their papers that have come out, but they have got some pretty interesting grounds because they know they're trying their best. This is why I like the combination. You have Elon, who's just a brilliant guy who wants to be efficient, and he has other things. And you have Vivek, who's a Harvard law-trained mind. He's a brilliant law mind to know how to navigate the system that he has to navigate, so it's not just force-feeding politicians this. You want to get bipartisanship on this thing with DOGE, with essentially cleaning up all the overspending, deregulating the U.S. so that things are going through. It's what happened in Argentina with Milei, right?
Yeah.
And actually, I'm not sure if you saw, a week and a half ago, he just put out a press conference stating that for the first time in 136 years, I believe, they are in a surplus.
Come on.
They have gotten rid of all the issues that they've been having, from the printing of money and all that. And he said that one of the biggest things is deregulation, allowing economy to actually be self-sufficient and to create. So, but my point is, back to this girl's clip, there's a lot of interesting things because we have a lot of social programs, right? Which I do think there's room for that. There is no true capitalist economy in the world, and there's no true socialist economy, right? Those are totally. Those are the ideas, but there's always some sort of a mix, and obviously countries will move more towards one or the other. But
did you see that Elon and Vivek are starting a podcast so that they can discuss every single thing they're doing for transparency? Have you seen this?
No, I haven't, but it makes sense though.
So they're doing a podcast. So as they go after things, they're going to flesh it all out in a podcast with viewership, comments, people talking just like this, going, we're going after this, and this is why. You need to know why, and this is what we found, and this is bad. I'm like, this is going to change everything.
Well, those are the open source guys. This is open source, but in terms of government efficiency. It's going to be the most viewed podcast on planet Earth. I almost guarantee it. Like, there's no way it can't be. Like, if they're going to dive into these things and they expose things like this, oh man, we're going to have to do reviews on those podcasts to talk through a lot of those things because it's going to be wild. There's an awesome clip that is surfacing from the 90s, I think, with Milton Friedman, who's a world-renowned economist, right? And talking about going through the government of the United States into what sections would you keep and what would you discard. And the Department of Education, get rid of it. That was his response. Get rid of it. Department of Agriculture. So he some would be hit or miss. Department of Defense, keep. But most of them were like, get rid of them. Get rid of them. Get rid of them. So there's already a little bit of a playbook that's coming from him. I think these guys will be leaning into. Yeah. But I just want to, just to finish with that clip you just said with that girl, is Canada could be in a place that's more like the U.S., which she was representing. A place where you're actually rewarded more for your time. You still want to work hard, but you don't have to work like crazy hours and not reap the benefits of it, right? See our levels of homelessness decrease. See the amount of people below the poverty line decrease. Not have as many people go to the food banks like we're having right now. Record numbers of people going to the food banks. If we had proper economic policies, deregulation, and we had an attractive environment, and that takes good governance. That takes someone who understands economics, not someone who understands climate change, not someone who understands virtue signaling through care packages for citizens. That's really just a drop in the bucket of most Canadians that are suffering from heavy economic pressures. We're giving them $200 checks. It's like, that doesn't do anything. That's a temporary Band-Aid for a deep wound that people have. No, you have to bring back and actually redo the financial structure so that we can progress forward. Like our dollar it's like, it keeps dropping. You look at Martin Peltier is afraid of it
He's going
getting
after
close
it.
to like 60 cents or 64 cents. I think it's 70 or it dropped sub 70 there for a little bit. But anyways,
and there's just so much more that meets the eye, and that's the thing that's so valuable about podcasts like this, because like even I got a friend of mine who has a gosh, what kind of car is it? It's a little tiny electric thing that goes. It's only got like every day. It only has like a max range of like 35 kilometers. That's it. That's all you have for the day. So you plug it in.
Why?
It's a little tiny car. It's just like a
electric?
little thing, little tiny thing that you just rip around with. If anyone knows the name of the car, what I'm talking about. But one of the things, so we jumped in the car for a meeting and went to a restaurant.
do they buy it at Toys R Us?
No, but it is like cheaper. It's like 12 or 15 grand. That's it.
Okay.
It's just max. And so it's just meant like a little tiny commuter. You plug it in every day. It's just meant to commute.
Sure.
And on the dashboard, it has a little tree. And every time you drive, it shows you how many trees you've saved because you drove today.
Really?
And I went on
I've never heard of this.
I went on a tangent. I was like, no trees have been saved. Electricity and the creation of these batteries and cobalt and the mines and this and the amount of oil and windmills and electricity that's being produced. I was like, coal is still the largest production of electricity on planet Earth. We don't go into nuclear. And I just kind of went off and she was like,
China's making a new coal factory every 2 weeks.
every 2 weeks.
Just so we all know.
Yet Canada has carbon tax. Thank God we've got it, right?
Yeah.
It's just so ridiculous. And so I was, but that was the part that was she's not a dumb lady. She's not ignorant. She knew a lot of the things I was mentioning, but it still kind of puts this false reality of virtue that you are being virtuous and that you are saving the world. And I'm going, there's nothing being saved here at all. It's just it's a facade in front. It's ridiculous.
The whole idea of what you're touching on has become a religion.
Yes.
It has become a driving factor for people, which I think I'm not arguing whether climate changes because it has been cyclical. We know this.
Yes,
we know that there is movements and there's ebbs and flows. The grand debate is whether we are the cause of it or not. And actually, I don't think it's a debate, but all these people that businesses, you look at ESG, environmental, social guidance, you look at these scores for how companies are. I do believe in being responsible. Don't get me wrong, but I don't believe in being fake responsible like a lot of these companies are. And in the background, they're actually causing more harm because they're not willing to explore what those things do.
Well, like, and we've talked about this probably a couple of times, and I think we actually showed what's her name, Taylor Swift's flight path. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Well, she publicly speaks on carbon footprint and going against anybody who's against it and et cetera, et cetera. She talks about the climate change. Yes, she has, I think, the largest carbon footprint of anyone on planet Earth. More than a campaigning President Trump, more than like she has, somebody did the math on the video I was watching where they broke it down. They said like she has apparently a larger carbon footprint than I think 5 families for their entirety of their lifetime. She does in 1 year for 5 families combined, 1 year of her flying around. It's when you watch the plane, it's just ridiculous. It just looks like a little.
Last month, you also add, last month you and I were in Toronto when she was playing 5 or 6 shows in Toronto. We did not go for the show, just to be clear.
No, we didn't.
But the amount of it's a traveling circus, essentially. It's a giant machine with, we saw, 30, 40 plus semis parked in front of Rogers Place. I'm just saying, and the amount of shows in a year and a half, like I would like to know that carbon footprint. I really don't have a problem with people's carbon footprint. I have a problem with the hypocrisy that is behind it.
Yes, for sure. To say one thing and do another.
100%.
Like,
and that is steeped within our world of celebrity.
What a tour like that does for the economy and what the amount of business she's bringing in for the truckers. And like you saw, I don't know if you saw the articles of the bonuses she gave to the truckers and the people in her tour.
Yeah, that's all great.
It stimulates. It's fantastic.
But let's not shout these stupid things of save the planet and climate change and shame other people for doing things. When it's the whole idea of those climate summits with world leaders, right? And they all gather in Davos, Switzerland, and
with all their
talk about how we need to be better at the climate, but yet they're the ones who are. It's just, anyways, the hypocrisy is crazy.
Rules for thee, but not for me.
Yeah, man. This is the last show of 2024.
Crazy. I know.
Last one. Any last words?
I feel like I'm not ready to be done with 2024 yet. You know what I mean? For me, it feels kind of like it just flew by, which is weird. But yeah, it's crazy.
Well,
It's
make
cool.
the most of your last
I know.
7
I
days.
got a little bit left, so we'll see what we do.
You got some days left. Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas.
Appreciate you hanging out with us today on Christmas Day. It's going to be an awesome next year. We do believe the best is yet to come with podcasts and shows like this, and our friends continue to have good conversations. Thank you guys for tuning in and supporting us and being a part of independent media in Canada as we continue to build and rise and have good conversations to create awareness. But we could not do it without you guys. So we're so grateful and thankful for your support. That is your Christmas gift to us.
Before
So
we
thank
leave,
you.
did you move Titanic like that, or is that a symbol of 2025 things to come?
I think our producers are believing that we are passing
We're getting
the
past
iceberg.
the iceberg. Look at this, guys. I
Yeah.
don't know if you can see that. If it stays forward, the trajectory is good.
What if the iceberg starts
20
moving over?
20. Yeah. Good question. Different question.
Yeah. Anyways.
Awesome. Well, Merry Christmas, guys. Happy New Year's. Thank you for following, liking, subscribing. We're going to jump in the comments. We'd love to just dialogue with you guys, go back and forth. The show goes on.
Show goes on. Merry Christmas.